Intro. The lonely gift of intelligence. Have you ever wondered why you feel disconnected from most people? Why the conversations around you seem shallow? Why small talk feels like noise? And why your ideas often get misunderstood or ignored? It's not arrogance. It's not pride. It's a signal. A quiet whisper from the universe that you might be operating on a higher frequency of thought. In a world obsessed with fitting in, the truly intelligent often stand out. Not because they try to, but because their depth refuses to shrink itself for the comfort of the crowd. Michael Sandel once said that the deepest challenge of our age is not ignorance but misunderstanding. The inability of people to see beyond the narrow frames they've built around their own minds. So today we'll explore the 10 signs you're too smart for most people, and how that intelligence, if misunderstood, can become both your greatest strength and your heaviest burden. This isn't about ego, it's about awareness. Because when you finally understand your difference, you can stop apologizing for it and start owning it. Let's begin. You see patterns others miss. The first sign is your ability to see patterns, the invisible threads that connect moments, choices, and consequences. While most people look at life in fragments, you see the entire map. You don't just notice what happened, you ask why it happened, and what it means in the bigger picture. You watch someone repeat the same mistake twice, and you already know where it's headed. You walk into a room, and you can sense tension before a word is spoken. To others, it looks like intuition. To you, it's simply observation, processed at lightning speed. This ability can be both a blessing and a curse. You can foresee outcomes before they unfold, but that foresight can make normal life exhausting. You can't unsee what's obvious to you. The flaws in systems, the hypocrisy in words, the gap between what people say and what they truly mean. You try to explain your insight, and people dismiss you as overthinking. But what they call overthinking, Michael Sandel would call moral awareness, the mind's refusal to sleepwalk through life. You notice what's wrong not because you're negative, but because your mind was built to connect the dots others don't even see. So you start protecting your energy. You stop explaining yourself to those who can't listen beyond their comfort zone. You realize that not everyone wants to understand. Some people fear clarity because clarity forces change. And so, the smarter you are, the lonelier your insight can feel. But remember this. Your mind was not given to you to make everyone comfortable. It was given to illuminate paths others can't yet see. That's what leaders do. That's what thinkers do. And that's what people too smart for the crowd are born to do. See what's coming before the world does. You question everything. The second sign is that you question everything, not out of rebellion, but out of genuine curiosity. When someone tells you, "That's just how it is," your mind automatically responds, "But why?" You were never satisfied with easy answers. As a child, you asked questions adults couldn't answer. As you grew up, you realized many people don't actually think. They just repeat. But you don't settle for repetition. You crave truth, not tradition. Michael Sandel says that questioning is the highest form of respect. Respect for reason, for justice, and for the human capacity to think freely. When you question something, you're not disrespecting authority. You're defending your right to clarity. And that's why most people fear you. Because your questions expose the weakness of their beliefs. You challenge what others accept blindly. You ask why success is measured by money. You ask why people worship popularity instead of purpose. You ask why comfort is valued more than courage, and every time you do, you make others confront the truths they've been avoiding. But questioning comes with a cost. It can isolate you. Friends may fade away. Family may misunderstand. You might even question yourself, wondering if maybe you think too deeply, if maybe ignorance really is bliss. But then you remember, truth isn't found in comfort. It's forged in the fire of inquiry. The world doesn't evolve because of people who follow. It evolves because of people who ask. Every great reform, every revolution of thought began with a single person refusing to accept what everyone else called normal. So when your curiosity makes you different, don't silence it, sharpen it, because your questions are the doorway to progress. And if others find that threatening, it's only because they built their peace on illusions. Illusions your mind has learned to dismantle. Being too smart isn't about IQ. It's about awareness. And awareness always comes with weight, but bear that weight with pride. Because one day the very questions that made you an outsider will make you a visionary. Your emotions run deeper than logic. The third sign that you're too smart for most people is that your emotions run deeper than your logic. Contrary to what many believe, intelligence isn't about being cold or detached. It's about feeling more, not less. It's about understanding the layers beneath a simple moment. The tone behind the words, the silence behind the smile, the pain behind someone's laughter. You don't just see people. You feel them. You sense their energy, their fear, their uncertainty, and that empathy, that emotional radar, is both your power and your pain. Because the smarter you are, the more aware you become, not only of ideas, but of people's hidden worlds. Michael Sandel often reminds us that intelligence divorced from empathy is dangerous. It becomes arrogance, not wisdom. But you've learned that true understanding demands compassion. You can't just analyze people. You must feel them. That's why you sometimes feel drained after social situations. You're not weak, you're absorbing. You're processing 1,000 unspoken details while others are simply existing. And when others don't sense what you sense, it's easy to feel misunderstood. But your depth is not a curse. It's a compass. It points you toward meaning, even when the world chases distraction. You don't settle for shallow friendships or surface-level love. You crave connection, the kind that feels like truth, not convenience. The kind that doesn't just entertain you but expands you. People might call you too sensitive, but in reality you just refuse to live on mute. You're not fragile, you're finely tuned, and while others hide behind humor or noise, you sit quietly with the real and the raw, the beautiful, the painful. That's the paradox of deep intelligence. You understand life so well that it can sometimes break your heart. But you also know that every heartbreak, every disappointment, every wound teaches you something logic never could. You don't just think with your mind. You think with your soul. And that's what separates knowledge from wisdom. You outgrow people quickly. The fourth sign is one of the hardest truths to accept. You outgrow people quickly, not because you think you're better than them, but because you're growing in directions they can't yet imagine. Most people are content staying the same. Same habits, same gossip, same conversations year after year. But not you. Your curiosity keeps evolving. Your standards keep rising, and that evolution makes many people uncomfortable. You'll notice it in subtle ways. Conversations that once excited you now feel repetitive. Jokes that once made you laugh now feel hollow. You start craving peace over popularity. solitude over noise, purpose over validation. Michael Sandel often speaks about the moral drift of society, how we get trapped in comfort and stop asking if the lives we live are actually worthy of us. You've escaped that trap. You question not only others but yourself. You ask, am I growing or just repeating? That question alone sets you apart. But outgrowing people comes with guilt. You'll feel torn between loyalty and evolution. You'll wonder if you're abandoning people by choosing growth. You're not. You're just honoring your potential. Because staying small to keep others comfortable is a form of self-betrayal. You can love people deeply and still move beyond them. You can cherish memories and still walk alone toward a higher version of yourself. Growth demands space, and sometimes that space looks like distance. You may lose friends, you may lose relationships, but you'll gain something greater, clarity. Clarity about who you are, what you want, and what truly deserves your energy. So don't chase belonging where you've already outgrown the room. The right people won't be intimidated by your evolution. They'll be inspired by it. And when they find you, they'll recognize you instantly, because they too have walked through loneliness to find truth. You carry a quiet confidence. The fifth sign that you're too smart for most people is your quiet confidence. You don't need to prove you're right. You know you are, and that's enough. You don't shout your worth. You live it. You don't compete. You create. Your confidence doesn't come from applause, and it comes from alignment. You've wrestled with your doubts, fought your insecurities, and survived your failures. And in that battle, you discovered something most people never find: inner authority. Michael Sandel says that true confidence is moral, not performative. It's not about dominance. It's about self-respect. It's the quiet conviction that your values are intact, even when the world mocks them. That's why you don't chase attention anymore. You've realized that most noise is empty. People talk loudest when they have the least to say. But you speak with purpose. You choose silence when words won't heal. You move with precision. You don't rush to react, and you wait to understand. That calmness confuses people. They mistake your peace for weakness, your humility for doubt. But you've learned that power doesn't need to announce itself. Real strength is invisible until tested. You no longer waste time convincing anyone to see your worth. If they can't recognize it, that's their limitation, not yours. Quiet confidence is the mark of deep intelligence because it's built on mastery, not insecurity. You've seen enough of life to know that validation fades, but integrity endures. So you carry yourself differently. You walk slower but with purpose. You talk less but with weight. You forgive easily but forget rarely. You listen, not to respond but to understand. And maybe that's why people misread you. They sense the calm but not the fire behind it. They see your silence, but not the storm you've already survived. You've become the kind of person who doesn't need to win arguments, because your presence already speaks truth. And in a world full of noise, your calm becomes magnetic. That is the quiet confidence of the truly intelligent. Not loud, not proud, just grounded. You feel time differently. The sixth sign you're too smart for most people is that you feel time differently. You don't see time as hours and minutes. You feel it as moments and meaning. Where others waste days chasing distractions, you see the invisible cost of lost focus. You know that every second spent on things that don't matter is stolen from things that do. To most, tomorrow is guaranteed. To you, it's a privilege. You understand that time is the most valuable currency, and the only one we can't earn back. That's why you don't move fast, you move intentionally. You're not in a hurry, because you've learned that rushing is what the lost do to feel alive. You move slowly but with purpose. Michael Sandel once said that a society obsessed with speed forgets to ask if it's heading in the right direction. You've seen this truth in your own life, how people sprint through days, scroll through hours, and call it living. But you crave depth over duration. You don't want to live long. You want to live awake. You measure life not by how many days you've lived, but by how many you've felt. That's why you often feel older than your age. Your awareness makes time heavy. Every experience leaves an imprint. Every moment teaches you something. You remember details others forget because you were fully there. This awareness of time also makes you impatient with mediocrity. You sense when something is wasting your potential. You'd rather be alone working on your purpose than surrounded by people wasting theirs. And yet you're not cold. You're just conscious. You've realized that every yes to distraction is a no to destiny. So you protect your hours like sacred ground. You plan not to control time, but to respect it. You know one day your time will end, and when it does, you want to look back and know you didn't live by accident. That's the mark of an evolved mind. You don't fear time passing. You fear meaning slipping away. And because of that, you live differently. You wake up with intention. You move with awareness. And when you rest fully. Not out of laziness, but out of gratitude. That is how the intelligent experience time. Not as a countdown, but as a canvas. And every choice, every day, every moment, is a brushstroke on the masterpiece of their becoming. You live with a higher purpose. The seventh sign, the one that defines everything else, is that you live with a higher purpose. You're not chasing the same things others are. Money doesn't hypnotize you. Fame doesn't define you. You're driven by something deeper, meaning. You don't just want to exist. You want to matter. You want to leave this world a little more awake than you found it. Michael Sandel speaks of moral vision, the belief that life is not just about what we achieve, but why we achieve it. And you embody that idea. Your mind constantly asks, what's the point? What's the purpose? That's why you don't envy others' success. Why? Because you know success without soul is failure in disguise. You've seen people rise high in status but fall low in peace. You've seen the crowd celebrate noise, not substance, and you refuse to be part of that illusion. You crave purpose like oxygen, and that hunger makes you unstoppable. Because it's not driven by ego, it's powered by meaning. While others are motivated by approval, you're motivated by impact. You don't care if they clap. You care if it counts. That's why you don't quit easily. Because your purpose isn't about comfort. It's about calling. And the smarter you are, the more you understand this. Ease is the enemy of evolution. Every challenge you face, every heartbreak you endure, every lonely night you survive, all of it refines your mission. You realize your pain isn't punishment, it's preparation. Preparation for a life of significance. And that significance isn't measured in followers, or likes or titles, but in the quiet ways you awaken others, the silent ways you change lives, the unseen ways you live truth. That's the beauty of higher purpose. You stop performing and start becoming. You stop chasing recognition and start embracing responsibility. You stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give? And when you live like that, you don't just influence people, you elevate them. The rarity of your mind. So if you've recognized yourself in these signs, if you've ever felt misunderstood, out of place, or unappreciated, remember this. You are not too much for this world. The world has simply not learned to think on your level yet. Being too smart for most people is not about superiority. It's about solitude. It's the price of seeing what others ignore. It's the weight of awareness in a sleeping world. But here's the truth. You are not here to fit in. You are here to wake people up. You are not here to blend in. You are here to build, to question, to create, to evolve. Your intelligence is not a curse. It's a calling. A calling to think deeper, to love wiser, to live freer, to speak truth even when silence is safer. Michael Sandel once said, "The true measure of a person's intelligence is not what they know, but what they're willing to challenge, even within themselves." So challenge yourself. Stay uncomfortable, stay curious, and never dim your mind to make others feel brighter, because one day, those who once called you too much will seek your light to find their way. Until then, walk your path with quiet confidence, unshakable purpose, and deep gratitude. Because in a world that fears deep minds, being misunderstood is simply the mark of being ahead of your time.